Hi, this is your coach, Fred Abok, and I would like to talk to you today about how to manage change positively without allowing fear to crop in to your managing change. I want to walk through with some of the practical steps that I've always taken to be able to manage change in my life personally and how these practical steps have always worked for me. I want to let you know that change is inevitable, and especially during this unprecedented situation and circumstance. So join me together as we walk this journey and be able to understand how we can be able to practically work through the dynamics of change and be able to succeed in this change. In 1920, Howard Phillips Lovelace wrote in his novel Supernatural Horror in Literature, and he said the oldest and the strongest emotion of a mankind is fear, and the oldest and the strongest kind of fear is the fear of unknown. Those words of Lovelace are still applicable today, particularly in our office setup. Majority of us anticipate change in our workplace and frequently discuss it with our co-workers. However, dynamics of change is something that is very crucial when it comes to reality. When things actually change, most of us are often scared and become uneasy. So why the fear of change? Why do dread and resist change? Well, we are afraid of change in workplace for a number of reasons. Number one, our dreads arise often due to the fear of disappointment, fear of refusal, fear of disapproval, fear of unfamiliar at work. According to Tom Chesky, the writer of Freeing Yourself from Anxiety, he states, change in the workplace are one of the utmost life stress individuals can fall victim to. He believed that the way human beings prosper in this life is through monotony, uncertainty, which provides them a sense of autonomy. Therefore, when humans experience any big change, they are surprisingly fluent into a state of ambiguity and a state of resisting the change. It, however, needs to be understood that whether we like it or not, change is inevitable and essential these days for companies and establishment to subsist and flourish. There is need for change. We need to work on this change frequently so that we can be able to walk in them with understanding. So how then do we manage change in our workplace? How do we manage change in our workplace? Now, effective change management in our workplace is vital for any company success, for any organization. We need to understand that organization shrinks in size, they reduce their employees, they subcontract operations, reorganize their administrative structure, and upgrade their technology. Handling all this transformation can intimidate. However, being capable of managing this change effectively is important for your career. Whether you work for an organization or run your own business, when company proceeds and strategies change, particularly the ones you have been using for a long time, it can be quite challenging to adjust and perform tasks in different ways. So despite the change being apparently beneficial and welcome, most of the times you will have to learn and adapt to the new approach of working. Instead of going astray or being preparing for effective management change and integrating modifications into professional life in your business, there are tips that we need to learn and understand on how to work through when it comes to changing to change in the management. And I want to take you through some 7 tips that has always been of great help to me when it comes to managing change. The number 1 tips is that you need to keep your emotions under control. Keeping emotions under control requires a level of intelligence. Managing change is not an easy feat. It can leave you exhausted, drained out, not just physically, but also mentally as well. Why? Because while sudden changes in the workplace can be doubting, it is important to keep your emotions in check when dealing with changes. As an employer, it is not possible for you to control emotions of your employees. However, through your vision, you can regularly communicate that change to the company in an inescapable ways. This happens hence that you encourage your employees to expect change and plan ahead on how to tackle it. It will be very essential for you. But of course, number 2 is that you need to be prepared. Change requires preparedness. Why do I say this? First step for managing change successfully is to actually accept the fact that change is inevitable. No matter how big or small the organization is, it is of experience and it is of vital understanding that management will change, new policies will be implemented, and fresh talents will be taken on board. Remember, change is only constant in the world. Hence, it is better to be prepared instead of grudging and grudging yourself over change. So get yourself ready, making sure that you always change yourself. Number 3 is you need to be flexible. Whether your company undergoes positive change, such as expansion, or negative change, for instance, reducing your workforce, keep in mind that it will cause productivity to dip since employees will intentionally find it difficult to accept and manage. As an employer, instead of witnessing your employees getting paralyzed, ambiguity given them through time to adapt to the new environmental paradigm, there is need for you to constantly communicate this, and so that you put them into an environment or a platform that they can be able to understand that change is coming, it is inevitable, and it is for the benefit. But also the way you communicate change will reflect on the way your employees will undertake it. Number 4 is just state the facts and be honest. The worst thing an employer can do is to package a negative information in a positive absence. It is like saying, well, we will be sacking a few employees, but also we'll be celebrating them by cutting down the costs. The more you tell your employees that it will be okay, the more they will think you are insincere. Just be honest. State the facts and also let them know that they will be available to answer questions. You as an individual. Avoid beating about the bush. Avoid escalating issues and moments that you cannot be able to get straight into what you want to say. It will help you to deal with change effectively. Number 5, understand the change cycle. Change cycle is very inevitable when it comes to adopting and bringing change in an organization. There is no one size fit for solution when it comes to change management. Every person has different pace and acceptable level. While some quickly adapt to the change, others may actually take months to adopt to change. As an employer, try to understand your employees first before you actually expect them to understand you. Encourage them to ask questions and offer support if you can. Remember, communication is a key when it comes to adopting change. Adopt an open door policy so that employees can communicate their concerns without hesitation. It is inevitable that you have a consistent communication with your employees so that they do not develop an attitude of feeling that change is out to degrade them. Number 6, become part of the change yourself. Implement an approach of keenness and enthusiasm and view change as a prospect instead of hurdle. Try to get change in a new ground and work in a lineup. Instead of running away from change, become instigers and drive towards it. Consequently, you will free yourself in positive, more empowered and less dreadful. Shrug off any negative thoughts about change and become part of it. When you get to do this, you will actually understand, and the people who are following you and are actually reporting to you will get to adapt into change without seeing necessarily that it's actually directed on towards them. And of course, number 7 is diminished stress and nervousness. Diminished stress and nervousness. Too much stress produced by change can make us feel exhausted and drain out all our energies. Therefore, one should concentrate on being resilient, vigorous, mentally calm, but also physically fit. Find out the things that you can be able to do. Exercise yourself. Get yourself a walk. Give yourself a free time. You can do yoga. You can have a quiet time. Or being in a position that you can be able to reflect and have a way that you can be able to absorb ideologies and ways that you can be able to adopt onto change. Because change is inevitable. The only thing that will constantly be as long as we are alive is change. So be adapted to change, respond to change, and let change be able to effectively drive you to where you ought to be. Beyond change, life still exists. Thank you so much for tuning onto this channel. This has been your coach, Fred Abog. Looking forward to catch up with you next time. God bless you. Shalom.